Two maids walk down a corridor, whispering. One nudges the other and asks if she heard, the other nods, eyes wide. His Majesty and Empress Hilaria did it. The group gasps, someone hesitates, if it's Hilaria, the one staying at Steel's palace. They huddle closer, gossip flying, someone mutters about Queen Silver, another sighs, as expected, it's always Empress Hilaria. A red-haired girl watches them from a distance, they're all so busy talking about one person again. She doesn't care for useless rumors, what's the point? Just as she thinks that a presence approaches, she hums, barely glancing up, did she invite him in? Your Majesty. The man before her meets her gaze, this queen didn't invite him, so he had no choice but to come himself. She tilts her head, amused, if he wanted to see her, he should have just said so, she would have gone to him instead of making him come all this way. He raises a brow, that doesn't sound very convincing. She smiles, oh my, did it show? Later, she pours wine into a glass, swirling it slowly, she sent out a butterfly, hoping for useful information, instead, everyone was too busy gossiping about her. Well, at least Hilaria is about to become the hottest topic in the palace, eyes and ears will be on her whether she likes it or not. She sets the glass down with a soft clink, her gaze sharpening, but who is all this really about? The man in front of her only smirks, if she wants, he'll take responsibility. Responsibility? She scoffs, he should just formally invite her already, it's such a small, trivial thing. He leans in slightly, eyes glinting, as she wishes, he's looking forward to it, his Empress. Someone shakes Hilaria, trying to wake her up, their voice urgent as they call out to her, Your Highness, please wake up. When she doesn't budge, they raise their voice, Princess Hilaria. She sighs in her sleep, stretching lazily before finally opening her eyes. A box pops up, displaying her name, Hilaria Guinevere, Princess of the Kingdom of Guinevere. She gets dressed and steps into the carriage, slumping slightly as it moves. A girl beside her watches with a knowing look, telling her they're almost there, she should start preparing. Hilaria grumbles, her voice groggy as she asks if they've already arrived, she'd rather be late. The girl beside her looks nearly identical, but her cropped dark red hair and bright green eyes set her apart. Hilaria, on the other hand, has long, bright red hair and striking blue eyes. Green Eyes sighs, reminding her that today is her first day in the palace, being late is not an option. Hilaria scoffs, it's not like this is her first time dealing with them, who doesn't know how to drag her into the palace by now? Green Eyes nods, of course, placing a cream cap on Hilaria's head. Hilaria smirks, adjusting it slightly before stepping out, time to teach them a painful lesson. There are 4 concubines in the harem, but now one is dead. Today, after that event, a 5th concubine enters the palace, all to change that one future. The carriage arrives, the wind picking up as Green Eyes helps Hilaria out, her gown billowing slightly. She steps onto a tiled road leading toward a majestic castle shining under the sun. Green Eyes glances around and scoffs, why is no one here to greet her? She tilts her head, listening for any approaching footsteps. Hilaria clicks her tongue, she doesn't need to look to know, isn't it obvious? The harem is already overflowing, no one cares about new arrivals anymore. Green Eyes should just take this as a sign to give up and return to Guinevere. On the contrary, this is perfect. Green Eyes laughs, lightly scolding her, if someone hears that, oh her princess, oh no, her lady really, eh? Someone's coming? A figure in a navy blue coat approaches, his posture straight, his expression unreadable. He stops before them and bows deeply, his voice even and formal as he welcomes her, Hilaria Guinevere, to Winfrey Kingdom. Prostrating himself, he introduces himself as Svein, butler of the royal citadel of Vladislav. His grey eyes are sharp, his cropped black hair neatly styled. A purple and white box appears, displaying his name and title, Vladislav's butler, Svein. He speaks again, saying it's an honor to welcome her. Hilaria watches him closely, thinking back to what she knows, Svein, a man so loyal, they call him the Emperor's dog. For the Emperor's closest confidant to be the one personally picking her up, now that is interesting. Our girl smiles, greeting him politely, saying that maybe because of the nice weather, the carriage horses ran very fast, fortunately, they arrived just in time for their meeting. Was it too fast to make up for being late? Green Eyes pales, nervously whispering that her princess shouldn't say things so bluntly. Doesn't she realize she just pointed out that he wasn't on time? Svein remains composed, nodding as he adjusts his tie. Yes, because the weather is nice, that must be it. His fingers tighten slightly before he smoothly continues, saying it's lucky he was able to greet them without delay. He then gestures ahead, stating that he will now escort her to the palace. Hilaria smiles behind a black fan, thanking him in a voice that sounds far too amused for Green Eyes' comfort. Green Eyes sighs internally. This is basically a life-and-death battle. They walk along the paved road, the grand castle getting closer with each step, Hilaria glancing around as she hums thoughtfully. She'd heard that the scenery of the royal castle was beautiful. It seems it wasn't just a rumor, huh? Is this what it feels like to have a picnic in the secret garden, Katie? Green Eye sputters. What picnic? Even if she's joking, that's too much. Is she okay? She was so worried something would happen, her heart was restless the entire time. Hilaria tilts her head, amused. Afraid? What's there to be afraid of? She's seen far worse. She's been to Guinevere Kingdom in secret before. Origin Gem. She saw the future through that gem, the future where she refused the Emperor's marriage proposal, and it was nothing short of a nightmare. A woman lies on the ground, unmoving. A broken voice murmurs, Katie? Mother? Father? The peaceful roads are now littered with corpses, the kingdom once full of life reduced to nothing but ashes. Amidst the chaos, she stands alone, staring at the devastation. Is this what they call the end? Back in the present, her gaze sharpens. At most, refusing will only give them more reason to push, but that future, her beloved kingdom, gone, that is hell itself. That future must not, absolutely must not happen. Someone speaks, pulling her out of her thoughts. They have arrived. This is where Lady Hilaria will be living from now on, Palace Stylos. Svein steps forward, gesturing to the grand structure before them. This is one of Vladislav's most beautiful libraries. The Emperor has given her all of this as a gift. A gift, huh? What an inappropriate word. When she remembers what he did in the future, her teeth can't help but clatter. The grand golden gates swing open, a voice politely inviting them inside. Hilaria steps forward, her thoughts firm. There was only one reason to accept the Emperor's marriage proposal, to prevent the fall of Guinevere. She has arrived, standing at the entrance of the future she has envisioned, and she will change it, no matter what. A voice calls out, addressing her respectfully, Please, madam. The speaker is a maid from Palace Stylos. Her name is Callista. 3 women in maid uniforms stand before her, their heads bowed, hands crossed neatly at their waists. One has honey blonde hair, the other 2 have black hair. Callista steps forward, welcoming her lady properly. Hilaria watches them closely, her gaze lingering on the blonde maid, assessing, calculating. Callista then raises her head, offering to show her to the bedroom first. Hilaria smirks but stays silent, letting the moment stretch before finally speaking, greeting her with a slight amusement in her tone. Nice to meet you, Celeste. The maid flinches slightly, her eyes flicking up in surprise before she quickly corrects her. It's Callista, my lady. Hilaria hums, pretending not to notice, her voice light as she comments on how stunning the palace is, so mesmerizing that she arrived late. She forces out a pleasant smile, watching as Callista nods, a thoughtful look in her eyes, studying Hilaria's behavior. Green Eyes, or rather, Katie, frowned slightly at the exchange. The young girl spent her childhood with Hilaria. She knows when she's playing a game. Hilaria glances back at Callista, her expression unreadable as she speaks once more. She looks forward to her kind cooperation. The maid shoots Hilaria a glare filled with contempt before quickly masking it, nodding stiffly as she responds, yes, she looks forward to it as well. The room is suffocatingly extravagant, from the overpowering scent of perfume to the heavy red curtains and countless accessories. It's all decorated so lavishly it's almost ridiculous. Was the Emperor being obvious about his intentions for their first night? It certainly seems like it. A voice calls out, addressing her respectfully, young lady, please come this way for a moment. Another maid steps forward, her tone polite but firm, commenting that perhaps because Hilaria has the features of the northern people, her fair skin makes her look good in any dress. She smiles, tilting her head slightly as she asks what Hilaria thinks about the color red. Hilaria's lips curl slightly, her voice light as she hums, "She sees." But she brought plenty of dresses with her, she should wear them first. The maid's glare sharpens, but she holds back her words, though not for long. Her voice takes on a scolding edge as she informs Hilaria that in Vladislav, she can't just wear whatever she pleases. She gestures toward a set of dresses hanging nearby, pulling a few forward for her to see. The rose embroidery on these linings isn't just for decoration, she explains, it's a symbol of Vladislav. The emperor's robes bear purple roses, the empresses are red, the queen mothers are pink, and the grandchildren's are yellow. Wearing anything that isn't embroidered with the proper flowers? That's a violation of imperial law. Hilaria hums, nodding slightly, she sees. What a pain. Why is this maid trying so hard to ruin the mood? She could just bribe the tailors, but if someone's planning tricks, she needs to know the Imperial Palace rules inside and out. Looks like there's a lot to learn from now on, especially if she wants to stay in the Emperor's good graces. She doesn't say anything at first, just smiles. Then her voice turns sweet. Didn't Celeste say she'd help her? Callister nods, of course, young lady. Hilaria tilts her head slightly, watching her carefully. She thinks there's been a little misunderstanding. Callister blinks, excuse me? Something feels off, what is this sudden change in mood? Then Callister quickly regains her composure, offering a polite smile as she comments that she's a simple person, just like most Guinevere people. Hilaria chuckles, simple, huh? So what, should she be good to the Emperor, give birth to a son, and live peacefully in this castle? She leans in slightly, her voice dropping to a calm, almost amused whisper. She has no interest in doing that. The air in the room shifts instantly, thick with tension. A young lady who just became an adult is controlling the entire atmosphere. She stands there, now fully dressed in an elegant red gown, tilting her head as she watches Callister's reaction. Then her voice cuts through the silence. Does she understand now? Those red and yellow flowers Celeste keeps mentioning, she's saying she's not interested. Callister stiffens, saying things like that. Hilaria plans to leave once she achieves her goal, doesn't she? Someone with her personality could never stay in a place like this, not when she can't stand having anyone above her. So now, does she understand what she wants? Calmly and obediently listen to her? This explanation is simple enough for a child to grasp, right? A chill runs down Callister's spine. She feels like she's about to be eaten. Answer, she has to answer. She nods quickly, saying she understands. Hilaria's lips curl into a satisfied smile. Good girl, now go tell the Emperor she won't be spending the night with him, she's not feeling well. Callister's hands tremble slightly before she steadies herself, but she has to spend the night with His Majesty if she wants to become queen. Hilaria chuckles, oh? Celeste is quite delicate. She didn't come here because of some deal with the royal family, she's here as a princess of the duchy. Has there ever been a queen treated like this before? From Still Rose Palace to the wedding ceremony, everything has been different. Even Svein, the head butler, personally greeting her, that was unheard of. But still, Celeste had been looking forward to serving someone who would one day become empress. Hilaria pinches the maid's cheek lightly, her voice playful as she says her name. Whether she accepts or rejects the emperor, she will still be given the title of queen. That's the promise between the Principality of Guinevere and the Winfrey Empire. Even if she's the serpent that will devour this palace. Celeste shivers. Creepy. Hilaria turns to the maids, her voice light but firm. They have a choice to make. Will they let her be cast aside? The other maids tremble, eyes darting around in fear. Left abandoned in the imperial city? She presses a golden mark onto Celeste's neck, her touch lingering. Or will they make the smart decision, stand by her side, and hold the palace in their grasp? Celeste hesitates, her mind racing. What does she wish to do? Serve His Majesty? Her voice is steady when she finally speaks. She will inform him that her lady's body doesn't feel well tonight. Hilaria grins. Good choice. They'll get along well, won't they, Celeste? The maid lowers her head. Understood, my lady. Hilaria sits on her bed, deep in thought. Just now, for a brief moment, she could have sworn Celeste's pupils shimmered gold. A trick of the light? She shakes off the thought. Katie's voice cuts through the quiet. Didn't she push the head maid too hard? What if she runs to His Majesty? Hilaria waves her off. She worries too much. Even if that happens, His Highness won't be able to touch her. Right now, she's a valuable hostage who just entered the palace. That's vain guy, the one they met earlier, is the Emperor's close acquaintance. Anyone who's seen him, even common concubines, can tell he's not the type to let things slide. He'll send people to determine her worth, won't he? Rumor has it that the real reason the Empress and concubines are sent to the castle is to keep them under control. The real reason they're sent to the castle is to keep the Empress Dowager in check. They're nothing more than chess pieces. The current emperor isn't her biological son. He banished the rightful heir and took the throne for himself, leaving the Empress Dowager and her exiled son as mere symbols of the imperial family. By taking noble daughters as empresses, he ensures their families remain hostages. It was a flawless plan, until it caught the attention of a duchy that had remained neutral. Who would have thought? The other emperor should be here too. She has to be careful. Katie sighs. What she's trying to say is that, at the very least, Hilaria shouldn't get hurt. Hilaria groans. She gets it, she gets it. Everyone is so dramatic. Katie huffs. But isn't it obvious? There's only one princess of the duchy. It's not even funny at this point. She heard the eldest prince cried his eyes out the moment he heard about the betrothal. Hilaria sighs. She's done with that story. Whatever it is, now that she's here to prevent the duchess' downfall, she'll have to change everything, slowly, piece by piece. The prince is ruthless and cold-blooded. He even used Guinevere as collateral for war to achieve his goals. For the sake of changing that future, the first step is accepting the emperor's proposal so that no more innocent children from the duchy will be forced into this. She'll lead the duchy to victory with the power of Guinevere. She calls out to Katie, telling her to check if anyone is in the hallway. Katie jumps at the sudden command before quickly responding, yes, yes. She steps out, looking around before reporting that no one is outside. My lady. Hilaria nods and tells her to check outside the window too. Katie hurries over, saying to wait a minute. She'll close the curtains. The room darkens as a golden glow starts to radiate from Hilaria's hands. Now, go ahead. She releases a swarm of yellow butterflies into the air. Inside the palace, the butterflies scatter, weaving through the air as the maids go about their work. Back in the room, Hilaria groans, her fingers pressing against her temples as she calls for Katie to hand her the mana stone. Katie quickly retrieves a bright orange gem and hands it over while eyeing her warily. Didn't she summon too many? Hilaria grips the stone tightly and breathes out. The palace is too big. She didn't have a choice. The guards and maids are moving more tightly than she expected. Yet this also means the butterflies will have more to see and hear. She thinks to herself, as expected, one is insufficient. Her hands tremble slightly as she asks Katie how many mana stones she brought from Guinevere. Katie rummages through the bag before hesitating. At this rate, they won't last a month. Hilaria eyes the bag of shimmering stones before musing aloud. Should she call Lady Beatrice separately? She already sent a butterfly to Bibi. It won't take long to hear back. Katie glances at her before narrowing her eyes. So is she sure she's okay? She didn't catch a fever, did she? Hilaria waves a dismissive hand and assures her that it's fine. This much is worth it. On that note, let's see if Celeste did her job well or not. Since she rode the carriage for too long, she must look sick enough. If they play this right, the Emperor will be informed and a doctor will be sent soon. Hilaria laughs softly and Katie squints. What? Is it going to be okay? Hilaria winks before saying she thinks Celeste has made a wise decision. Katie exhales loudly in relief. What a relief. She was worried that if something went wrong, Celeste would become food for the butterflies. Her heart felt uneasy. Hilaria chuckles before cutting her off. Don't worry, Katie. She never planned to feed her to the butterflies in the first place. Katie gapes at her in disbelief. So she has other plans for her in the future. Hilaria simply smirks. Elsewhere, a grand blue and white castle, Vladislav's East Hall. Inside the Emperor's office, a voice speaks. She said she's unwell. Another voice asks Vane what he thinks about that statement. The butler's voice remains calm and unwavering. it's a lie, she looked perfectly fine when she arrived. Celeste stammers, struggling to explain exactly how the princess felt unwell, but the butler isn't surprised. The Princess of Guinevere must have tried to act precocious the moment she arrived, but does she realize yet? The phrase, "no concubine has ever refused to spend their first night with His Majesty," is about to spread all the way back to Guinevere. The prince chuckles, a rare sound that makes the butler pause. His Majesty is laughing. Just wait until he sees the aftermath. Svein remains silent, choosing his words carefully before finally saying, "Nothing, Your Majesty." Ebon waves a hand, amused. "All right, send the medicine to the princess and give her the title of Empress." Svein expected as much. And tomorrow, what if he wants to have breakfast together? A private conversation, just the two of them. The prince, dressed in his royal outfit, smooths his sleeve and smiles, his inky hair and blue eyes catching the light. A pop-up box appears, Ebon Ethel Winfred, Emperor of Winfred. Ebon leans back and muses, Imperial Mother's birthday is approaching, it would be unacceptable to not even know the face of his new royal concubine. After all, in terms of status, she will be the one sitting next to him at the banquet. Svein, unimpressed, internally notes that this is coming from someone who struggles to tell his concubines apart by hair color. Ebon glances at him. Is there a problem? Svein bows slightly, suppressing his thoughts. No sir, he will relay the message. The prince waves him off as he writes, Hilaria Guinevere, bringing Celeste to her side the moment she stepped into the palace. Impressive. So the rumors are true, women from Guinevere can bewitch people. Interesting. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. In her quarters, Hilaria raises a brow. He wants to eat breakfast with someone who claimed to be sick? Celeste wipes a bit of sweat from her brow and quickly explains, it must be His Majesty's sincerity for mistress. This is the first time His Majesty has ever invited a concubine for a private meal. To receive such special treatment, is it because of her identity? A maid chimes in, trying to lighten the mood. The palace chef's skills are excellent, at least breakfast will be delicious. She's sure she'll enjoy the food. Hilaria takes another sip of tea and says at least the meal will be nice. Oh, and there will be a guest tomorrow, make sure everything is prepared perfectly. The maid hesitates before asking, not to overstep, but may she know who the guest is? Hilaria answers casually, the young miss of the Genesis Marquis. The maid stiffens, did she say the Genesis Marquis? To think she could call over the young lady from such a powerful family so easily. Was there always such a close relationship between the Guinevere Duchy and the Marquis? Who is this woman? Hilaria sets her cup down, it's about time for the doctor to arrive. He's going to diagnose the frail royal concubine with motion sickness, isn't he? The maid nods quickly, yes. Good, make sure it's handled well. Queen Hilaria, her presence is something else, indescribable, almost like she stepped straight out of the Duchess legend. The Red Queen, Guinevere. A vast blue throne room, sunlight reflecting off the polished floors. The man sitting atop the empire, crowned at 15, now ruling with an iron grip. Overpowering the Dowager Queen, taking his independence, his reign is already considered better than the previous emperors. Rumors about his abilities and appearance, she thought they were just exaggerations from his admirers. Someone speaks, asking if she's not eating. She glares at them, thinking, this isn't fair. Across the table, the prince smiles at her, looking far too perfect for this early in the morning. How does someone look that good so effortlessly? She barely managed to fix her swollen face, yet is sitting there glowing like a painting. She takes a bite, forcing herself to respond, she's eating well. Ebon watches her, finding her cuter than he expected. Svein worried she'd be a dangerous woman, but so far, there's nothing to be concerned about. He says cheerfully, it's good to see her eating so well, he heard she wasn't feeling well yesterday. She pauses, setting down her spoon as her attention sharpens. She looks at him and responds calmly, after a good night's rest, she's feeling much better. She thanks him for his concern. He smiles, eyes closing slightly as he says, that's a relief. It would have been troublesome if she had become too unwell to face the Duke again. And she must eat well to stay healthy. She nods, keeping her face neutral, she will remember that. His mouth is curved into a pleasant smile, but his eyes remain cold, emotionless, sending a chill over her skin. Then he speaks again, since her body is well, how about they spend the night together? A queen who hasn't spent the night with the emperor will be ignored in this palace. She meets his gaze, then slowly smiles. She thanks him for the offer but says she'll have to refuse. He pauses mid-sip, hums, and asks why. She tells him she doesn't like the same things as others, she loves special things. The prince tilts his head, amusement flickering in his gaze. Special? What special things can satisfy the royal concubine? Lucky for her, the Imperial Palace has plenty of ways to make things special. He leans forward slightly, eyes locked onto hers, and says he could make her empress right now. Her breath catches, eyes widening as she blanches. He points at her as he speaks, every word laced with certainty. Her stomach twists. He dares to show her, so plainly, that her life rests in the palm of his hand, in a palace where the Empress Dowager is rapidly expanding her power, colluding with the nobles. Does he plan to turn the duchy into her enemy overnight? She refuses to become a shield. She forces a laugh, brushing off his words as excessive. Could someone as small-minded as herself even handle that? She's petty and extravagant. It would be a stain on the empire. He simply smiles, unconcerned. That doesn't matter. She only needs to be a pretty little flower. His voice is light, his expression sincere, but she hears the warning beneath it. Those who desire to be empress will end up as nothing more than decorative roses, trapped in a golden vase. She meets his gaze evenly, voice calm as she says she won't desire that position. Not now, not ever. What she wants is much simpler. He only needs to promise her one thing: in the future, he will grant her one very small wish. He raises a brow, a little request. She nods, saying it will be something he can easily fulfill, and in return, she will hunt down the thing he desires most, the old raccoon lurking in this palace. The prince suddenly bursts into laughter, his amusement ringing through the room, making her stiffen. She blinks, completely caught off guard. He leans back, grinning as he calls her bold. That's quite a dangerous thing to say, my lady. She stays firm, meeting his gaze without hesitation. She's committed to her words. He hums, amused, and calls her determined. She nods, reminding him that every word an emperor speaks carries immense weight. He'll hold her to her promise, then, waiting to see if she can endure that weight. It worked. She smiles and thanks him. His Majesty. He smirks, hoping they can both reach their goals with ease. Then, as if something just occurred to him, he tilts his head and asks one more question. She hums in response. He leans forward slightly. Does she plan on formally introducing herself to the Empress Dowager? She tilts her head. Oh? Is he saying she shouldn't? He studies her, finding her audacity both impudent and fascinating. She really planned to throw herself straight into the lion's den. Even Lady Salot wasn't this brazen. He tells her simply, don't go. She claps her hands together happily, a bright smile on her face as she cheerfully agrees. Of course, she will obey with joy, Your Majesty. She watches him closely and silently releases a yellow butterfly. Let's see, but before it even reaches him, it suddenly vanishes, as if crushed by an invisible force. Her smile falters. She knew it. Her butterflies don't work on him, but why? Is something protecting him from her spirits? Still, there's no way he noticed what she just tried to do, right? She sits quietly, the sunlight catching her red hair, making her look almost unreal, deep in thought. She doesn't notice the way the prince watches her, his expression unreadable. He thinks to himself, she just won't stop with her adorable antics. How amusing. It looks like things are about to get even more interesting. Later, she flops onto the sofa, letting out a long sigh of relief. That was exhausting, but she gained a lot from that meal. She snaps her fingers, stretching a little. Let's see, they took all the clothes she brought, but luckily, they didn't find the important stuff. Golden butterflies flutter into the room, carrying a large brown book. She smirks, just as she expected. Before she can reach for it, a horrified scream rings out. My lad, no, Lady Hilaria. Katie rushes in, eyes wide with panic. What if someone sees her using her spirits? Our girl opens one eye, completely unfazed. She shrugs. It's fine, no one's around. Butterflies fill the room, their golden wings shimmering as they hover in every corner. Observing, Katie stares in disbelief. The entire room. Just how much mana is she using? They didn't bring that many mana stones. Hilaria waves a hand dismissively. BB is going to bring more, so she shouldn't worry. Anyway, they're going to need more funds. They can only rely on House Genesis for so much. Katie pauses, money. Hilaria nods. They need a bigger playing field if they want to lure out the raccoon. She flips through the book, her green eyes scanning the pages, looking at the information she gathered before coming here and what she learned from the orb. The best card she can play right now is arms trafficking. At this time a few families are already trafficking weapons on a large scale. If she can silently take over the operation, she can legalize the trade and supply weapons to the Imperial Court. Since the Empire is preparing for war, it's the perfect opportunity. Katie leans over, glancing at the page Hilaria is reading. Her eyes widen. Dear God. She's seriously planning to take over that? Hilaria smirks. Wouldn't that be perfect for their situation? Katie frowns. It sounds risky. Hilaria shrugs. If it's legalized, there's no safer or more justified way to make money. It'll be like killing two birds with one stone. Since she'll generously cover the taxes they've been evading through illegal trafficking. Katie shakes her head. That kind of thinking is exactly what makes this risky. Hilaria shuts the book with a snap. All right then, first they need to host a tea party. Katie sighs. Who should they invite? Hilaria grins. Just wait. Someone who can handle that will be visiting them soon. Azura should be bringing that woman right about now. Elsewhere, a girl with long white hair and a flowing white and blue dress gazes out of a window. She speaks, and a blue-haired woman standing behind her bows. Yes, my lady. The woman's yellow eyes gleam as she scowls. A mere country girl, the last to become a consort, dares to have breakfast with the Emperor? She must see the face of that impertinent brat herself. Hilaria smirks. Meanwhile, Celeste groans, rubbing her temples. What's with all the noise? A maid rushes over. Miss Celeste, Miss Azura from Imperial Palace is. Another maid, a blonde girl with red eyes, crosses her arms. What is the meaning of this rudeness? Lady Celotte should make an appointment and come herself if she wants an audience with Lady Hilaria. Azura scoffs, hands on her hips. Rudeness? Lady Hilaria is obviously the one who should be visited. The other ladies are already gathered in their palace as we speak. Red Eyes huffs, arms crossed. Azura never mentioned this in advance. She can't just summon her out of nowhere. Celeste calls out, Miss Azura. The blue-haired woman turns. Lady Hilaria is waiting. Please follow her inside. To most she is known as Celeste, but to our girl she is simply Celeste. The door creaks open. Azura steps into the room. Hilaria sips her tea. Welcome. Azura bows. She is Azura, lady-in-waiting to Lady Celotte. She asks for forgiveness for causing such a scene. It was only because she wished to meet their newest Empress consort. Hilaria's teacup clinks against the saucer. She sees, so she serves Lady Celotte. Azura nods. If it's not too much trouble, would she come with her to Imperial Palace? The words barely leave her mouth before Hilaria waves a hand. Be a good girl and come here. Azura stiffens. Excuse me. The blonde maid blinks. What's going on? Katie feels the tension thick in the air. Hilaria sighs. She doesn't like repeating herself. Be a good girl and come here. Now, Azura shudders. Something about that voice leaves no room for argument. Hilaria tilts her head. How much longer is she going to make her look up at her? North wing of Vladislav. An older woman with cropped blonde hair and bright blue eyes sighs. A purple and white box appears. Lobelia Winfrey, Ebenezer's stepmother. She swirls the tea in her cup. Even a young consort ignores her now. A green-haired maid cautiously murmurs, Your Majesty, before another voice cuts in. A purple-haired man scoffs. The girl acts high and mighty, thinking the name Guinevere will protect her. A box pops up. Empress consort Olivia's father. He turns to Lobelia. She must show the girl her place. A mere consort is no match for the Empress Dowager, if she wishes. Putting her in her place won't be difficult. Bella strides to a nearby settee and sits. Is that so? He nods. Of course. Once she brings the consort to her knees, Guinevere will be in her grasp. Bella chuckles, lifting her cup from its coaster. He is quite right. His Majesty may have given an order, but she is still the elder of this palace. The Empress consort bows his head. Truer words have never been spoken. Your Majesty, she hums. She needs him to have a talk with his daughter. Lord Osmo straightens. Lady Olivia. Bella nods. It should be easy for Olivia to get close to her as a fellow consort, should it not? Olivia is smart and tenacious. She believes she will do well. Osmo laughs and agrees without hesitation. Trusting his daughter with this task is nothing compared to what he's gained, the Empress Dowager's full trust. That young emperor doesn't stand a chance against her, not in a million years. The fate of his house depends on who he stands with, and he's already made his choice. A grand palace appears, its walls gleaming white and red. A box pops up on the screen. Asterisk the Steel Rose Palace. Asterisk Azura wipes her forehead, sweat already forming. She announces her arrival, but Hilaria doesn't acknowledge her. The silence stretches. Azura shifts uncomfortably before speaking again, her voice uncertain. Hilaria finally looks at her and drops a name. The color drains from Azura's face. Her lips part, but no words come out. How does she know? No one was supposed to know. No one except those involved. Sweat trickles down her skin. Her hands won't stay still. Her body won't stop trembling. The harder she tries to stay composed, the worse it gets. Hilaria smiles and assures her she hasn't told anyone yet. Then she tilts her head and rubs her neck, casually mentioning how stiff it suddenly feels. She points at the floor and gives a single command. Azura's legs buckle, and she collapses, apologizing in a shaky voice. She stays down, forehead pressed to the cold floor. Hilaria studies her. Silot must be the one leading the consorts. She acted first, just as expected. The perfect choice for hosting the tea party. She calls Azura's name. Azura jerks upright, voice unsteady as she answers. Hilaria asks a question. Azura lowers her head further, explaining why she's here and who sent her. Hilaria tilts her head. Azura hesitates, confused by the response. Hilaria sighs and reminds her of her status. Azura turns blue. She lowers herself further, voice barely above a whisper as she agrees. The princess tilts her head, her voice calm as she questions what made Azura think she had the authority to summon her. Azura stammers out a response, but it's barely audible. Hilaria doesn't press her for an answer, just reminds her that, as the head lady in waiting, she should understand what she means. She also expects her to know exactly what to tell her lady when she returns. Azura quickly agrees, bowing even lower. Hilaria claps her hands together, smiling as she says that's great, because her tea is getting cold. Azura doesn't hesitate, bowing again as she says she'll take her leave, her voice still shaking. She steps away, leaving Katie and Hilaria alone in the room. Celeste watches her go, thinking she never expected to feel bad for Azura of all people. Katie, on the other hand, feels nothing but relief, silently thanking the heavens that she's on the same side as her lady. She exhales, tension leaving her body all at once. Hilaria turns to her maids with a bright smile, asking if someone said something. The maids don't miss a beat, shaking their heads as they respond in unison. Azura walks away as fast as she can without actually running, trembling with every step. Her face is nearly as blue as her hair, her heart still pounding in her chest. That gaze, that terrifying gaze, it was as if she could see right through her. A chill runs down her spine. She hesitates, turning back slightly to check if she's still being watched. Her stomach sinks as she realizes the rumors about Lady Silot haven't completely died down after all. She can only hope she didn't just hand Lady Hilaria a new weapon to use against them. She already knows Lady Silot will scold her for returning empty-handed, but she'd rather face that than risk losing her head back there. A storm is brewing in Vladislav, a red gust of wind that will turn the palace upside down, a force named Hilaria. The scene shifts to a carriage rolling down a long road, the wind howling around it. Inside, a woman with bright pink hair lets out a long sigh, reminding the passenger beside her to behave. She's right there, after all, so Hilaria should really try not to cause any trouble and just wait like a normal person. A castle with a purple roof comes into view, a blue box pops up on the screen, the east wing of Vladislav, the Emperor's palace. A young boy stands near the Emperor, his expression curious as he asks what he finds so amusing. The Emperor chuckles, leaning back as he asks if he hasn't heard. Lady Hilaria made Azura kneel. The butler sighs, saying he heard. She actually made her kneel before her. Ever since breakfast with her, people haven't stopped talking about Lady Hilaria. The palace must be buzzing with gossip. The Emperor smirks, amazed that she's already given him this much entertainment, and it's only her first day. He looks forward to what's coming next. The butler warns that with all eyes on her, everyone will start moving, including the Empress Dowager, just when he thought things were finally settling among the consorts. The Emperor waves him off, saying he worries too much. Svein. Another voice joins the conversation, a smooth, amused tone, saying he quite likes the sound of that consort. A tan man with green eyes and silver hair steps forward. A purple and white box pops up, Vanek Clarinet, Duke of House Clarinet. The Duke crosses his arms, remarking that the blood of Guinevere flows through her veins. After all, the Emperor hums, agreeing that she's certainly different from the other consorts. She only asked him to grant her a small wish in exchange for catching that raccoon, but for what? Those eyes, those words, everything about her is captivating. It's like watching a rose bloom right in front of him. Sweyn sighs, saying Lady Salot won't take this lying down. He dreads what kind of disaster is about to unfold. The Emperor just laughs, cutting him off, saying not to worry, Lady Hilaria will put up a fight. The Duke yells, is he seriously waiting for a fight to break out? How much havoc does he plan to unleash in the palace? Sweyn groans, saying His Majesty has no idea how hard it is to clean up after him. Dear, things were getting noisy here first. He sighs, muttering that he told him to calm down, but now he has to wonder, what kind of mess will she bring him next? Hilaria Guinevere. A carriage rolls down a dirt road, the wind rustling the trees around it. The door swings open, and a woman in a baby blue gown steps out, her pink curls bouncing with the movement. A white and pink box pops up. Beatrice Genesis, the only daughter of Lord Genesis, the Marquis. A voice welcomes Lady Beatrice, her golden eyes open to see Celeste, the blonde maid. Beatrice tilts her head, smiling as she asks if she's now serving Lady Hilaria, calling her by her original name. The maid bows, confirming it. Beatrice beams, saying that's wonderful, she must take good care of her. This is dear Hilaria's first time in the Imperial Palace, she might have some trouble finding her way around. Beatrice places a hand on her head, her tone full of affection as she adds that Hilaria isn't good with people, she's never even stepped outside the principality. Celeste stares, confused. Was she talking about the same Lady Hilaria who forced her and Azura to their knees? Not good with people was the last thing she would call her. She forces a polite smile, assuring Beatrice that she'll look after her. Beatrice suddenly claps her hands, remembering something. Urena, fetch the gift. A maid steps forward carrying a box, opening it to reveal a blue set of jewelry resting on a red velvet pillow. She explains that they heard this kind of jewelry is permitted in the palace. There's more in the second box underneath. Celeste barely glances at it before saying there's no need to verify everything, it should be enough. She'll guide them inside now. Beatrice grins, thanking Celeste. Inside the palace, Beatrice's excited voice rings out as she shouts Hill. She rushes forward, wrapping Hilaria in a tight hug, exclaiming that it's been so long. Stepping back, she gasps, saying she's lost so much weight. Hilaria waves it off, saying it only looks that way because she had gained weight before. Beatrice frowns, insisting it's not true. Is she sure she's doing well? Hilaria chuckles, reassuring her that she is. Beatrice sighs, then claps her hands, turning to Celeste, telling her to prepare tea with plenty of milk and sugar. Celeste bows, saying yes, your ladyship. Beatrice's cheerful expression shifts as she hears approaching footsteps. She leans in closer to Hilaria, lowering her voice as she asks if she's checked whether what she saw in the orb was real. Hilaria tilts her head, telling her to have a seat first. Bibi, there's no need for her to personally investigate anymore, she already confirmed it another way. First, Erkin suddenly halved the number of horses they've been selling to Guinevere. Their excuse was that there were issues with the horses' health, but conveniently, it happened right when the Zachary tribe started attacking the borders. The Zachary tribe raided them on horseback when just a while ago, they didn't even have proper weapons. It's obvious. Erkin is using them to shake things up in Guinevere, and soon, they'll make an alliance with Oswald. Beatrice frowns. Oswald has always been looking for a chance to take over the empire. If Erkin joins hands with them. Hilaria nods. A war is inevitable. Every side must have already started preparing, and at this point, there's no stopping it. The only thing she can do is ensure Guinevere's survival. That's the only way to protect her homeland. Beatrice rests her chin on her hand. She trusts Hilaria's judgment. What does she need her to do? Hilaria doesn't hesitate. Look into the family controlling the arms trafficking. Beatrice repeats it in disbelief. Arms trafficking? Is she serious? It's risky if they start poking around. Hilaria hums. She's not planning on making any moves just yet. She'll host a tea party first. She arrived as a new Empress consort, that alone is a good enough excuse. She needs to gather more information before then. Beatrice should investigate the families of Duke Clarinet and Count Nartan. Based on everything she's found so far, those two houses are the most suspicious. Beatrice sighs, all right, she'll see if she can find solid evidence. When's this tea party? In a week. By then, she'll have rearranged the pecking order in the palace. Katie suddenly chimes in, saying they'll be able to last 2 months with what Lady Beatrice brought. Beatrice brightens, that's a relief. She got everything she could. Inside a wooden box, red stones glisten under the light. She was worried Celeste would open the box, but thank goodness, she didn't. Hilaria picks up one of the stones, eyes shining as she gushes over how they're top-quality mana stones. Beatrice puffs out her chest, she worked really hard to get them. If Hilaria gives her some time, she can get more. She recently bought a deserted island that supposedly has tons of mana stones. She's not sure if it'll be enough, but she'll gather as many as she can. Hilaria smiles, thanking her as always. Beatrice grins, she knows how much she cares for her, right? Hilaria nods, of course. Meanwhile, in another part of the castle, Azura stands stiffly before a white-haired woman who glares at her. She came back empty-handed, didn't she? Her tone is sharp, full of irritation. Azura swallows hard, bracing herself for whatever comes next. Beatrice takes a sip of her tea, humming in delight, this is so good. Hilaria gestures toward the teapot, telling her there's more, she can have as much as she wants. Beatrice grins, but oh, she never asked, how was her first meeting with the Emperor? Hilaria tilts her head, well, he was more. Beatrice raises an eyebrow, more? Hilaria hesitates. If she says he was more handsome than expected, Beatrice will tease her endlessly. No, he was more dangerous than she thought. Beatrice hums knowingly. Is that why she refused to spend the night with him? Hilaria shrugs, she's not about to let just anyone into her bed. Across the room, Celeste nearly chokes on air. Did Hilaria just refer to His Majesty as just anyone? Beatrice laughs, come on, Hill, if the other consorts heard that, they'd faint on the spot. Oh, by the way, she knows the Empress Dowager's birthday banquet is in a month, right? Hilaria nods, of course. Beatrice leans forward, has she decided on a gift yet? Hilaria smirks, it's already on its way. She's prepared something very special. In another wing of the palace, a porcelain vase shatters against the wall. The white consort seethes, hurling insult after insult. Azura, covered in bruises, kneels silently and takes every word. The lady's voice rises, furious. Because of her, she's become a laughingstock. Azura bows lower, whispering that she's terribly sorry, your ladyship. The other maids rush to clean up the broken pieces while the lady fumes. That country hick, how dare she humiliate her? She used to be one of the highest-ranked Empress consorts, thanks to her status as a duke's daughter. But overnight, everything's been ruined. All because of that damned Hilaria. Azura hesitates before speaking, choosing her words carefully. Forgive her for saying so, but Lady Hilaria, she's different from the others. She's dangerous. It would be best if her ladyship is cautious. The white consort's head snaps toward her, eyes flashing. What? That's all she has to say? She dares lecture her when she couldn't even handle a simple task? Azura lowers her gaze. If her lady finds out that Hilaria already knows her secret, her temper won't be able to handle it. Of course not, your ladyship. Azura bows low, voice steady. The silver-haired lady turns to the window, eyes narrowing. Let the bumpkins of the Steel Rose Palace know she'll be paying them a visit tomorrow. Azura nods, yes, your ladyship. The lady's grip tightens on the windowsill. She'll teach Hilaria a lesson. She'll make her kneel before her if it's the last thing she does. In another wing of the palace, gasps and compliments fill the air. Beatrice claps her hands together. Oh my goodness, Lady Hilaria, she looks absolutely stunning. Hilaria stands in an off-shoulder gown, blue jewels glistening against her skin. Her hair is styled in an elegant bun, each strand perfectly in place. The other women admire her. She's incredibly talented, cellist. Truly impressive. Celeste dips her head, thank you, your ladyship. Hilaria studies her in thought. She never expected Chellas to be this skilled. In high society, dressing well is a battlefield of its own. Fashion trends dictate status, and knowing how to stand out is key. She likes her more and more. Hilaria straightens her back. Good. She's finally ready for war. She meets their eyes. Wish her luck, both of them. The ladies-in-waiting nod eagerly. Lady Hilaria is the best, she should go knock them dead. Celeste folds her hands, certain she'll defeat them all. She'll do just fine, your ladyship. Hilaria chuckles, thanks. Well then, shall they head out to the battlefield? Silence stretches between them. Hilaria and the white-haired lady sit toe to toe, the tension thick. 5 whole minutes, not a word. So, she's not the aggressive type? Interesting. Lady Celotte finally breaks the quiet, her tone sweet. Lady Hilaria, she apologizes for yesterday's incident. Hilaria waves a hand dismissively. No need for that. It was completely understandable, given the circumstances. She just hopes they can get along. Lady Celotte hums, yes, so does she. Everything must feel unfamiliar since she's just arrived at the palace, not to mention all the things she has to learn. She hopes to be of help from now on. A slow smile creeps across Celotte's lips. Dark. Calculated. Hilaria smirks. Well, well. She plays along, tilting her head. Quite right. Adjusting to palace life is a lot. She reaches out, placing a gentle hand over Celotte's. Then she meets her eyes, steady and unwavering. So, Lady Celotte, she trusts she'll help her settle the internal affairs of the palace. Hilaria beams, eyes gleaming with amusement. Celotte stiffens, her confidence cracking as those words cut deep. The palace can only be peaceful if they get along, wouldn't she agree? Celotte's temper snaps. How could some country bumpkin from a rural wasteland think she can manage the internal affairs of this palace? Shouldn't that responsibility go to someone actually capable instead of someone who has nothing but a fancy title? Her face twists with disdain, voice dripping with contempt. Hilaria sighs, Lady Celotte, she didn't come to this palace just to sit around. In other words, she doesn't have time to entertain a child throwing a tantrum. Hasn't she heard from Azura yet? She knows the truth behind the late Lady Benish's death. Celotte's breath hitches, her eyes widen, panic flashing across her face. Hilaria leans in slightly, voice softer but far more dangerous. If word of this got out, she wouldn't just end up in a dungeon. There are others involved, aren't there? Many who would have to answer for their crimes. So as much as she's enjoyed this adorable little threat, her patience for Celotte's arrogance is wearing dangerously thin. Across the room, Azura stands stiffly, head slightly bowed, sweat gathering at her temple. Bruises mark her skin, proof of how easily Celotte's rage turns violent, but despite everything, she hopes they can work together, if only they could remain on friendly terms. Hilaria chuckles, oh, how amusing. Celotte yanks her hand back, seething. No need to be scared, Hilaria hums, she doesn't plan on devouring her just yet. Then she extends her hand, eyes twinkling with mock sincerity. So, will she be her good friend, dear Lady Celotte? Celotte glares, looking both disgusted and furious. Celotte's hands shake as she grips her teacup, forcing out a groan before agreeing. She has no choice but to cave for now. Hilaria's smile widens as she thanks her, then casually brings up a tea party. She needs help since she isn't experienced with hosting. Celotte grits her teeth and agrees. Hilaria beams, expressing her gratitude, then mentions wanting to meet the other consorts before the party. Celotte nods, already planning to send letters telling them to refuse the invitation. They'll listen to her, not some upstart. She smirks behind her teacup, imagining the humiliation. Hilaria sighs in relief, pretending to trust her, then casually snaps a flower stalk in half, murmuring about how easily they break. Celotte stiffens, sweat forming at her temple. Maybe she should wait before trying to embarrass her. She forces a smile, promising to put in a good word. Hilaria tilts her head, thanking her sweetly. Everything is going just as planned. Celotte trembles. The Emperor is the only variable left. Her spirits can't even approach his chamber. Something is blocking them. Ebenezer, she bites her finger. Just what is he? Meanwhile, a butler steps forward in a dimly lit study, addressing the Emperor. The Duke nods. The Emperor sighs, saying he already heard. The butler notes that she even managed to intimidate Lady Salot. Impressive, but knowing her, this isn't over. The Emperor raises a brow, asking if the butler is taking Lady Salot's side. Swain stammers, saying not exactly, but she has been keeping the Empress Dowager in check. The Duke chuckles, saying he'll bet on Lady Hilaria instead. The Emperor turns to him, confused, asking not on Salot, his own sibling. The Duke shrugs, saying he's just never seen someone make such a splash before. Besides, Salot is as dense as they come, she's not cut out for grand schemes. The Emperor smirks, calling him cold even toward his own family, then mentions that Hilaria invited Lady Beatrice Genesis as soon as she arrived. They graduated from Leona Academy together, a school in the Principality of Guinevere. The Genesis family is one of the most influential in the capital, yet they sent their daughter to study abroad, an unusual move. It seems Hilaria and her friend are cut from the same cloth. He taps 2 fingers on the document in front of him and says he'll place his bet on Lady Hilaria too. The butler gasps, wondering if this is favoritism, then dramatically ponders if this is the start of palace romance. Will she become empress, even give them an heir? The Duke scoffs, saying he always thought the Emperor never leaned toward any of the consorts. The Emperor hums, saying she does have an infatuating air about her. Swain whimpers, asking if she's bewitching people like the rumors say. What if he falls under her spell too? The Duke rolls his eyes, saying even if she is, Swain won't be her target, he has nothing to worry about. The Emperor asks if it's true that she's holding a tea party soon. Swain nods, saying yes, with Lady Salot's help apparently. The Emperor leans back, saying they should prepare a proper gift, since their new Empress consort is hosting a tea party. Swain breaks a sweat, stammering, a gift? He's never gone this far for any of the consorts. The Emperor smirks, saying it's her reward for making his day entertaining, they should prepare something appropriate with care. They bow, saying yes, Your Majesty. The tea party will be a turning point. What and how much will she achieve? His expectations grow ever bigger. Meanwhile, Hilaria hums, flipping through a book while lounging on a sofa in a green dress, then calls for Celeste. The blonde maid appears, asking what she wishes to know. Hilaria tilts her head, asking if Lady Olivia isn't one of the Empress Dowager's people. Even with such a connection, her reputation in the palace doesn't seem great. Celeste scoffs, saying oh, that's because Lady Olivia is very, very greedy. Celeste nods, saying she heard Lady Olivia is extravagant and will do anything to satisfy her desires. Rumor has it she once slapped her handmaid's face several dozen times out of anger after having breakfast with His Majesty. Hilaria raises a brow, saying, my goodness, not exactly the gentlest soul, is she? Apparently, Count Osmo moved to the capital for his daughter, the Empress Consort. Makes sense, since the success of his house depends on her, he'd naturally want to keep her happy. She taps her fingers on the book, then asks what Celeste thinks of Lady Jaina. Celeste tilts her head, saying Jaina never takes a clear stance. While she interacts with Lady Salot, she also has ties to her adversary, the Empress Dowager. She's quiet, keeps to herself, and rarely leaves her palace. Not even Hilaria's butterflies have seen her outside. But the Jaina she saw in the future was, Hilaria suddenly shuts her book, deciding she needs to meet Jaina in person. She thanks Celeste, tells her to go, and Celeste bows, saying yes, your ladyship, before leaving. Hilaria hums, crossing her legs. The next day, she stands before the gathered ladies, smiling as she thanks them for accepting her invitation. She calls out to the silver-haired lady, who breaks a sweat, then turns her gaze to the red-haired Lady Jaina, whose bright purple eyes gleam under her fringe, and Lady Olivia, whose dark purple cropped hair frames her sharp green eyes. Hilaria beams, saying it's such a pleasure to meet them all. If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, ciao.